Hello everybody. So now we're on video number 6 of the 5 areas of jazz study. This is the last area. We're now talking about improvisation. So it seems kind of redundant to have an improvisation area when we're talking about the 5 areas of jazz study. Uh, the improvisation is sort of implied, right? Well, when I separated the areas out, there were some things that didn't fit quite with the others. And for example, there were some people who I went to school with in El Paso. And their approach to learning how to improvise was to just play. And I actually love that approach. I'm not putting it down. It didn't work for me. And that's the whole point of these 5 areas. It didn't work for me because it was incomplete. So I'm not saying that it's wrong to just play, but I think that these other 4 areas have to be there too. So now this is the most unorganized area of the 5 areas. I don't have as many specific things to say about the improv other than that you just need to be doing it. And you can have time where you're just improvising freely, or you can be spending time playing with tracks or going to jam sessions. It's always better to play with people than it is to play with a track. But with the technology we have today, it's more convenient, and you can spend more time doing it without having to go to a club if you're using tracks or like Band in the Box. I use Band in the Box a lot. And so that's what we want for this area, is to spend as much time as you can afford just improvising, whether it be in the jazz style or not. I used to do that stuff just for fun when I was a kid. The pleasure it brought me was always very satisfying, to just pick up your horn and play what was ever on your mind, something like this. So what I did right there was just free improv. I didn't have any plans. I didn't have any objectives. I just wanted to play whatever came out of the bell. Now, it's not as simple as that. It's not like my mind is completely turned off. The mind is actually more active. But what changes is what you're thinking about. And so when I'm doing the free improv, I'm thinking about really what comes next. Not in a planning sense. I'm talking about what comes next in the next second. And based on what I just played. So it's weird for me when I play a phrase, a lot of times I can start hearing the next phrase while I'm on this phrase. Now, I'm 54 now. So I've been doing this since I was in late high school, early college. And that's where I'm at now because I've been doing so much of it. I do recommend regular free improvisation like that. Originally for me, it wasn't an exercise. And then I went to a master class with Tim Higgins. And he actually said that this is something that he practices. Now, I was already kind of doing, like I said, I was already doing free improv, but not for as long as he says. He says do 30 minutes a day or something like that. And the more I saw that people were actually doing this kind of thing, and even for performance, for really, I mean, there's a lot of stuff where there's free improv going on in the performance. So that's actually so good for your regular improv, your jazz improv, because what you're doing is you're learning more about the musical stuff. You're learning how to make sense of a a complete idea. So that's something that we do in the lessons. We try to do as much improvisation as possible. I tell my students when they first come in, I want them to play the tune they've been working on, and then I want them to improvise. And I tell them that this first time through is a performance. I don't want them to be trying to play the changes. I don't want them to be trying to do this or trying to do that. Not even the stuff we've been talking about. I don't want them to try to do any of it that first time. I want them to just play whatever feels good for them to play. I want them to be truly improvising. Then after that, we'll do some more improv where and I call these improv exercises. An improv exercise, you can say, and there's all kinds of them. You can come up with all kinds of different improv exercises. Like, for example, one that people commonly use is the eighth note only exercise. And that's when you would put the track on and only play eighth notes all the way through. And the only time you make an exception is when you breathe. So it'll be right? And you just keep going and going for choruses like that. And there's a reason for doing that. I'm not going to go into that right now, but it's the kind of exercise that we can do. Other exercises could be making sure that, for example, if we're in a key that has a note that you keep avoiding in your solos. Let's say you're in the key of E, 4 sharps, right? And you keep avoiding the D sharp. You're playing all these solos and it sounds okay, but you never hit the D sharp ever. Then we're going to have a improv exercise where you're going to nail that D sharp like as often as you can. That's not real improv, right? I mean, you are improvising, but we would never do that in public. Not normally. But doing it this way, you start getting used to improvising with that D sharp in your solo. And there's all kinds of improv exercises that you can do. You put the track on, and whatever it is that you're striving for at that time, you kind of make yourself do that. Now, here's something that I will warn you about. Whatever it is that you're focusing on in the improv exercise, be focusing on that. Don't be concerned if you've got good time or if you're in tune, or don't worry about all that stuff. Focus just on what you're focusing on. If it's that D sharp, don't worry about all the rest of it. Play something and get that D sharp. All right? Later if it was out of tune, then the next exercise could be, let's now play in tune. That's just kind of a weird example, but yeah, you can do that. All right, so yeah, this is like the least organized least organized of the 5 areas, and I think that there's a big reason for that. Each individual has different improv weaknesses. Some people just can't even get started, and I have something for that too. But the main thing is to just keep improvising. With tracks, without tracks, different stuff like that. There's a free jazz Aebersold track that you can download it now at iTunes and practice with that. I think it's Kenny Werner is the one that put that one out, and it's just different kinds of free scenarios, instead of tunes. Some of it, so he'll have like this one kind of sound or thing that he's going for, and then on the next track he'll do something different. But there's not tunes. And I think that's great for everybody. Everybody should have that album. because now it's not about the notes, it's not about the rhythms, it's really about you just making music with the scenario that you've got there. Yeah, it's on iTunes, that's where I got it. And, I didn't get the book. I don't, with something like that, do you really need the book? So, yeah, so that's what we have for the improv. I know it's kind of like less uh, less serious than the other, less formalized. But really, it can't be any more formal than that because everybody is different. And what you need in your improv is going to be different from somebody else. The only thing we can say for sure is that you got to spend time doing it. You have to spend time doing it. All right? That's what I got for you. This is the last of the areas. We have now one more follow-up summary video for this series, and then we'll start talking more about the more detailed stuff in the jazz, because I got plenty of stuff to talk about with the jazz stuff. Some people would say that I'm a maverick when it comes to these things because what I teach is so very different from what the schools are teaching today. And that's kind of funny because when I do go to schools and show them what I'm doing, the teachers will come up and pat me on the back and say, I've been trying to tell these kids this stuff for years, and I'm like confused because, I they're not teaching this stuff. How is it, where is anybody teaching these things? You know what? That said, if you are one of those people who teaches very similar to what I teach, please tell me. Because I feel like John the Baptist out here in the wilderness saying stuff that nobody else is talking about. When it comes to teaching jazz, that's where I'm the most different. I'm already a different person to start with. But when it comes to teaching jazz, that's where my ways depart so much from everybody else that I know. You know, and yeah, if you're one of these people who is more close to what I teach, I would sure love to meet you. Because right now there's nobody else that I know of that teaches this way. So yeah. Anyway, so that's improv. Just keep doing it. Be looking for your weaknesses in improv, not what chord are you playing and stuff like that. I'm talking about what music you make over the complete part of the solo. That's the whole objective of the improv area, is to make music. To take all this other stuff we've been working on. That's why it's last, by the way. All this other stuff we've been working on, the listening, the technique, the language, the tunes. We want to now take all of that and be able to make music with it. And you can't do that if you're not spending time doing that. All right? Anyway, if you like this, give me a like. And if you want some more of these things, please click subscribe. And if you have comments or anything, even hate mail, drop it down below, all right? And we'll see you on the next one. God bless you. Thank you very much.